Let's establish that. Now, why did they make those such demand? They have looked at the demand that can give you or qualify you to have that type of honor.
Yeah.
Your attitude, your character, your pedigree as vice president. So it's almost an automatic thing once you become the president in Nigeria or you become the vice president. But the countries in the world do this kind of thing that they demanded for, particularly if they see that their president, either living or dead, has been involved in a particular attitude. Many of those honors were stripped off generals that took part in the genocide against the Jews. We can begin to give numerous examples. So now, when Atiku left office, there was a book written by Obasanjo. And that book, it described Atiku in a particular manner. That's enough for Nigerians to begin to call for.
The stripping of...
Yes, that's enough. That's sufficient enough. That's number one. Number two is that there were also instances of involvement of whether it has been established or not. That is not good for the president of the nation as a VP, either whatever, whether it's living, whether it's still in office or outside office. Then, political ethics in Nigeria is not well spelled out by INEC, and that is what CSU is trying to do. There should be ethics in politics. Even if I want to become president of Nigeria, there are things that I should not be found doing. So for me, the demand of these people, we have to take it serious. And as also a member of civil society, we must also begin to align with them, because we must set this kind of precedents that there's a limit to which you incite Nigeria against each other. Look at what happened before the election. We almost become enemies of each other. Christians almost become the enemy of Muslims. So if we don't begin to straighten out our lifestyle, we may be in for it. And the picture in mind is that are we living in a country that the elders don't bother to look back and see the children coming out behind them? What kind of politics are we playing? I know the certificate saga does not begin today. It's been on since 1999. We were involved in it. As a member of the radical extraction of this country, I was part of the people that contributed my school fees to ascertain whether Tinubu finished in Chicago or not. I contributed my salary. I don't want to mention the name of lawyers that did the search. So it's not really mockery that has been going there. And we came back to discover that these are concoctions. These are conjectures that are not true. So if you now come about it again, after several decades, to begin to distract Nigerians when we have issues that we should be addressing.
But there are those who will ask, is he not exercising his constitutional right at, getting necessary information or making inquiries?
For wasting Nigerians' time, Veronica, he's VP of Nigeria. If any other Nigeria, if any former VP, if any other Nigeria is doing this type of thing, we may not be too bothered. But we also tell them that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. As a younger radical extraction in the 90s, when the thing came up, those are one of the few moments we disagree with Gani Fawehinmi, that on this note, Chief, we did our research, and nobody can argue us into turning this man into criminal. We can't criminalize him. And that is why, when you see you coming out with confidence, it's not what I read in the paper. It's what we have been able to ascertain. We have been able to ascertain it ourselves. So, if you come, they knew in their own mind that it's a distraction, that's a possibility of rupturing a lot of things politically and economically for this country. That is a desperation that we must point out. And that is why the group is coming out. I don't know the group, I don't know the leader, but I align my position with them that it is better to begin to call for this kind of punitive measure against statesmen who are supposed to be impeccable in character. Look at Gowon. Look at Jonathan. Look at Absalam Bakar. So even Babangida, that the most talk about ex-president of this country, look at his composure today. in Nigeria. These are people who are beginning to live eminent life, that issues about Nigeria can be taken to them and you are sure of getting appropriate advice. Who will go to Atiku for advice with this kind of character? Even if it's not contested.
Those who believe him would want to go to him.
The argument some people would definitely put forth is that they feel, okay, we have new generations who may not be acquainted with what had happened, transpired decades ago. And they are also saying, well, maybe the president would have helped explain all of these things so as to put pay to some of this hulabaloo about whether he attended CSU or not.
See, at the moment, my passport reads Enugu as my place of birth. I made an attempt to change it. I hope one day when I contest elections, someone will not go and say that I am from Enugu. But there's a confusion between where you are from, whether your state of origin or where you were born. I was born in Enugu, but I never knew that they were talking about your state of origin. But it doesn't matter. When we were also in school, when we were rusticated in school, we put in a lot of names. I put in a lot of names. Let me not speak for anybody. That Olokoba, and with some abbreviations, thinking that the school authority, they catch us and they eventually educated us. So if I had used that name to graduate today, people will say, I'm not saying that these are the things that Tinubu did, but at the end of the day, if I had graduated, anybody who knew me will come out to say that. As like he was even a president when he was in school. And this is the picture playing. So when you have this kind of picture in mind, you knew very well that what you were doing is an attempt to create confusion and further incite Nigeria against each other. It's not fair. And for the young people, I can't begin to educate the young people what they need to do. We were almost teenagers too when we were talking about to contribute our school fees to go and start whether the governor of Lagos actually finished in school or not. We were young people. But today, you should be able to dissect who Atiku is. Obasanjo knew who he was. You heard what he said. He said that I was the one that told Obasanjo not to take Lagos. As if it's a piece of paper. I will reply him. I will reply him in a press conference that you couldn't have taken Lagos. And Obasanjo knew the implication why he never tried to rig election in Lagos. He did it in other states. And Atiku was the head of that committee of take it by force during OBJ's time. They took Kwara State by force from ANPP that time. They took so many states. And that is the character that is exhibiting now, that you must take Nigeria by any means necessary. That's not acceptable to us. We won't allow him to turn Nigeria upside down. It's not going to work.
Is it about him turning Nigeria upside down?
That's what he's trying to do.
Him making claims to the
It's not making any claim.
He's gone to court, making claims to the Supreme Court.
Many institutions.
Some of these things.
Many institutions, including the BBC, and they are longer have BBC now. Anybody that disagrees with them, they have a penchant of not trying to engage people intellectually. Bring up your evidence. The school authorities